Group of residents who live at St Michael's Gate in Parnwell have got in touch with this show, angry, distraught, devastated after receiving letters saying they must leave their homes just weeks before Christmas. The letters sent after Peterborough City Council struck a deal with social housing provider Stef and Philips. The residents say the letters came completely out of the blue and has caused shock and upset amongst the whole community.
It's a quiet, private area. Yeah. Everybody works. There's people, all different nationalities, all different religions, and we all get on well. It's a lovely estate, and then out of the blue, we're told you need to get out. It's really shocking, really upsetting.
Earlier on the show, I spoke to Tony Roberts. He's facing eviction, but not until next April. He described how people reacted, though, when they heard the news around him.
Not just us, there's a few that have moved out through sheer fear of being made homeless. Where they've actually gone, I've no idea. I mean, we actually saw one family loading their van up at night time, and they were all in tears. The kids didn't know what was going on, so they've now gone. And everybody else is just wondering, what to do, where to go.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking situation, isn't it? Just 12 weeks till Christmas. Well, the private company Stef and Philips, who bought the properties, then offered them to the council so it could home people currently staying in travel lodges across the city. Council says it needs to make this arrangement because it's paying £1.2 million over 6 months to house these families without a home. But is it the best way to solve the problem? Is evicting one set of people, directly or indirectly, to home another set of people really a solution? Lib Dem councillor Darren Fowler said opposition councillors in Peterborough will challenge the agreement and describe the idea as morally wrong and lacking vision.
Anyone who's got common sense will look at this situation and they'll see it for what it is. Dodgy process. And all that's going to try and do is cover up the cracks that have been caused by this council, by this Conservative administration over 16 years, who've lacked vision, lacked insight, looked after themselves, spent money on vanity projects, and essentially made so many mistakes that they've probably forgotten how many they've made. And unfortunately, the people who get affected, it's not you, it's not me, it's vulnerable people like this in our city. And they're the ones who should get the protection.
Let's speak to Sean Evans. He's Housing Needs Manager at Peterborough City Council. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Paul.
Just tell us why you've taken this decision, because you are not directly responsible for these tenants, but your decision is indirectly leading to them losing their homes.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation to be in, Paul. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want anybody to be homeless. We have an issue in Peterborough, as many other areas of the country do. We were approached by Stef Philips when they'd made the arrangements to purchase the properties. Stef Philips have a history of working with local authorities, providing temporary accommodation, and when they approached us in the first instance, they advised us that their intention was to seek vacant possession of the scheme and then utilise the accommodation for temporary accommodation for local authorities to use.
So you knew they were going to kick people out?
They advised us that they were in the final stages of purchasing the accommodation, and that they would be seeking to get vacant possession of all of the properties so that they could work with local authorities to accommodation.
So yes, you knew they were going to evict people in order to do this deal with you.
Yes, they advised us that they were going to be seeking vacant possession. I think what's important.
Did you not stop to think of the impact that would have on 70 households? Did you not stop to think that you might be moving the problem from A to B? Instead of having water in the sink, you're putting it in the bath. These are people's lives. Did you not stop to think,
of course
we might be making somebody homeless here? I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it?
No, of course we did. And I think it's important to understand that actually, whether we work with Stef and Philips or not, Stef and Philips will be seeking possession of those properties. It may well be that those properties, if we don't utilise them, will be used by other local authorities.
But there's no guarantee of that, is there? You're saying that other local authorities might have come in. Well, they might not. Stef and Philips might have kept their tenants because some of them are good tenants. They put decking down. They've redecorated their houses. We've heard from people this morning saying we thought we were staying here for a long time. It seems odd, to me.
I think that we can be pretty confident that they would have been used by other local authorities. I was at a conference on Friday with other local authorities from the east of England, and the pressures that we're feeling in Peterborough are being felt right across the country. And Stef and Philips already work with a number of local authorities who have similar issues to us with temporary accommodation, so I have no doubt that they would have been able to utilise the accommodation that Stef and Philips would have been offering.
But these are council taxpayers that are paying their council tax, paying their rent, they've done nothing wrong, been forced out of their homes because you've struck a deal. I mean, what if all these people came to you next week and couldn't afford to move? You've got another 70, possibly 70 homeless people. That could happen as well.
It could well happen, and obviously
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Where's your common sense, man?
We need to ensure that obviously we offer the support to those residents. We will assist.
What are you going to do? Put them in travel lodge?
We will assist them in whichever way we can to support them through homelessness. We will help them with...
Sean, surely you see the stupidity of this, don't you?
Well, Paul...
Come on. What if it was your grandma, your mum?
Absolutely. Paul, you don't need to tell me about the harmful effects of homelessness.
Well, then why are you doing it?
Every day.
Why are you doing it then?
I think it's not us doing it, Paul. Ultimately,
indirectly it is, isn't it? Well, you told me you knew that these people would be evicted.
Paul, if we don't work with Stef and Philips, then ultimately we will be in the same position that we are now with the residents that are there, living there at the moment. They would all be under the threat of eviction. We would have a duty to investigate and rehouse them where required. And we would also be dealing with a number of other households coming into Peterborough from other local authority areas.
Is that what they told you? Is that they told you they would have evicted them anyway? Is that what they said?
Absolutely.
Did they also tell you that all their agreements have run out, as you told us earlier? Because that's not true.
Well, I need to speak to Stef and Philips about that. The advice that we've received from them is that all tenants are on a short hold tenancies and their fixed terms have expired. Obviously, if that's not the case, then those tenants will be supported to ensure that they can remain there until those fixed terms have expired.
Did you investigate this fully? Did you look at everything? Or did you just suck up what they were saying?
No, of course we looked into it, Paul. It would be irresponsible not to. Obviously, the rules around private tenancies and the agreements that are offered to private tenancies, unfortunately, they offer a lack of security. It's quite common for us to see somebody who's a private tenant that is being asked to leave by their private landlord. The last quarter shows that right across the country, evictions from private sector dwellings is the biggest causation of homelessness now, where previously it used to be people having to leave family and friends accommodation.
But why not? Why not then just take over these houses and leave the tenants in situ? Why put them through all of this pain, all of this heartache, scaring them to death just before Christmas, children crying, people in their 70s don't know where they're going to go next, they can't afford a deposit for a new house. Why not leave them there and look for empty properties to put these people in from Travel Lodge?
Ultimately, that's not a decision for us. That would have been a decision that Stef and Philips would have taken.
Well, no, it is. No, what I'm saying is, why not take over those properties? Yeah, I agree. But keep those people there, and because you're creating another problem somewhere else, aren't you? You're fixing a leak in the sink, and the water's running out of the bath.
Well, as I say, that's a decision for Stef and Philips. They're a private landlord. Their business model is working with local authorities to provide temporary accommodation.
But you might have to pick up the tab for this decision. You might have to pick it up.
We would have had to pick up the tab whether we worked with them or not, Paul. It's not a situation that we would want to be in, but that's where we find ourselves. I think it's important to understand that. Yes,
I get it.
Obviously, as a local authority, we're really sorry that we're in this situation, that the residents are in this situation, and we'll do what we can to support them. We wouldn't want anybody to be faced with homelessness.
But an apology is not going to fix the situation, is it? Or bring back a happy Christmas for these families. I mean, your action indirectly could cause them to be homeless.
We'll work with them to support them through that, Paul, and I'm hopeful that with that support we'll be able to find alternative accommodation for them before they have to leave the accommodation that they're currently residing in.
Is it just me? I don't. You your decision, it might be just me that's been a bit thick here. Indirectly, you could be forcing people out of a perfectly good house. They've paid the rent, they've paid the council tax. I understand there's a middleman in the way, but indirectly, you're forcing these people out. Then you're going to work with them to look after them. Well, maybe don't force them out in the first place.
Well, that's not a decision for us. As I say, if we're in a situation now where we've got a number of families living in inappropriate travel lodge accommodation. If we don't take up the offer of accommodation that Stef and Philips have put on the table, another local authority will.
Maybe you'd have been better off buying the houses before they did.
Well, I'm not sure that was an option for us. I think that the sale was at such a stage that it was pretty much a done deal when they first approached.
But it's an option, isn't it? Where's the foresight here? I mean, you can understand when your local MP, various councillors are saying Peterborough City Council lacks vision and don't have any confidence in your decisions. I mean, even you must see the madness of this.
Well, Paul, my role as housing needs manager is to support applicants who approach us in a homelessness situation. As it stands at this moment in time, we're doing our utmost to do that. We've got families housed in travel lodge accommodation. We could well be faced with a situation, if we weren't to take up this offer with Stef and Philips, that we would continue on with the issue that we've got with us having to use travel lodge accommodation, and we'd also have to assist the 74 households that are currently residing at St Michael's Gate.
What you're going to do now is swap some families for other families. Yeah. What you're going to do now is swap some families for other families. It's like a version of Runaround, but with people's lives, isn't it? Any chance of you reconsidering this decision for these poor people ahead of Christmas?
Well, if we reconsidered this decision, I don't think that would change Stef and Philips' decision to obtain vacant possession of the dwelling.
Why are they so intent on getting rid of these people? Is it worth more to get rid of them and get your customers in?
Well, the model that they work with local authorities is, rather than working with 6 month, 12-month short-hold tenancies, they lease the accommodation to local authorities and charge a nightly rate.
So it's a longer-term deal, is it?
So
there's more money in it for them.
They get more security,
more cash in it for them. That's why they're doing it.
They get more security. They can get a contract with the local.
How long is the contract?
What we're looking at the moment, there is no contract at the minute, but what we're looking at is a 2-year contract with Stef and Philips, for it to be reviewed in that period.
So they're taking the 2-year guaranteed money rather than the 6-month short-term contracts that people are on. So it's about money, really, isn't it?
That's what you'd have to speak to Stef and Philips about.
Yeah, well, we'd love to, but unfortunately they don't pick up their phone, Sean. So there's no crumb of comfort for these people who are facing a very bleak Christmas as far as you're concerned. Even though you've not signed the deal yet, there's no crumb of comfort.
Well, as I say, the decision's still got to be taken. The deal's got to be signed. If it isn't signed, then I believe that, unfortunately, the situation that we're in is that the households at St Michael's Gate will still be under the threat of eviction. And we will offer what support we can to assist those households.
So the people that you indirectly are pushing out of their houses, what would you say to them this morning? Who do they need to contact if they are made homeless?
Well, obviously the local authority has duties to support people who are homeless or threatened with homelessness.
So they need to contact the people who are indirectly making them homeless?
If they do want assistance, then they can make contact with us, and we'll do what we can to support them to move to alternative accommodation before they've got to leave the accommodation that they're currently at St Michael's Gate, and we'll do what we can to ensure that that's a positive move.
Sean, Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming on this morning. Sean Evans, Housing Needs Manager at Peterborough City Council. Is it just me?